Welcome, Amakhosi Network. Welcome to the channel. So we watched the Kaizer Chiefs' first preseason game against Vitesse. It's a Tulani Sirero's old team that we got to watch, and there's a lot we're gonna unpack about our new signings and how the game played. It's difficult to talk tactics, really, in terms of coach tactics, but we will highlight one or two that we picked up there. But yeah, before we get into that, please like, comment, and subscribe. First of all, I want to start by saying this. There's a few things you have to factor in before you assess this game, right? Because there are things that you will think that you did well at Vitesse, in Vitesse, but you won't do well in the PSL because the Vitesse guys don't really study Chiefs. They have no interest in studying Chiefs, so they don't care how Chiefs plays or how Nabi plays, etc. They are just there for the experience, and they believe that their quality will always just beat Chiefs naturally. And that's what happened today. Vitesse didn't play good football, but their quality just beat Chiefs because the amount of chances that Chiefs got and the amount of chances that Vitesse got is actually crazy, because I want to actually think that Chiefs had the better chances, had the better opportunities, but Vitesse, the few chances they had, they put in the back of the net. That is as simple as it gets. That's European football in a nutshell. But yeah, so I want to factor in that. I want to factor in that it's preseason. I want to factor in that the new players haven't gotten adjusted to the players. And I also want to talk about some things that we are carrying on from last season. So for example, I can judge Matlo, I can judge Morris. Those guys I can judge because what I saw in today's performance, I've seen for a full season, or Morris at least 6 months, but the rest for a full season at Chiefs. So what they give me today and disappoint me about today is something that they've been doing. So I don't expect these guys to change in like a little preseason thing and become new players. I don't expect that. Those are things I don't expect. So I want people to understand that. But let's go into the first half. First half started solid. It seemed like Vitesse played their weaker side in the first half. They played their younger players. We could see the players were younger, but they did have one of the two more experienced players in there. But it seemed like it was the weaker team. But other than that, we played a fairly balanced team, a young team that was attacking with Abom Dushabalala and Vilagazi. Dushabalala, there's a comment that's going around, and I agree with it, but I just hope it's preseason. I don't know. But and I think this is one of the important things I have to highlight, that Chiefs may need another winger. They can't rely on Dushabalala to be their winger. They need another winger because Dushabalala gave a good performance. Like when we needed him, he hit the pole in one moment, etc. But Dushabalala casually chooses his moments, casually does things. Like they get to a point. I feel Mdu is the kind of player who, when he becomes the best player on the pitch, it makes him more casual. When he becomes the best player in the team, it makes him more casual. Which is why I feel like if Mdu is not the best player in the team and the best player in the opposition, he generally lifts his game to put in more effort. But I saw now in the first half, the more he kept doing things, you could see the crowd was really loving what Mdu was doing. Like he was finishing people, etc. And he started getting this bloated ego about him, and he started doing casual things that he shouldn't be doing, that he wasn't doing when the game started. So Mdu has a big head complex where when he feels like he's becoming the best, he gets a big head. And his big head is unfortunate because it impacts his game. There are certain players who get big heads and it forces them to try more things and etc. But Mdu is the opposite. He gets a big head and he becomes more casual. I don't know what that means, but yeah. Fundo Vilagazi couldn't really trap the ball, but I will say this. There's one thing I want to affect him about this friendly, is that the grass didn't seem cut too well. So the ball kept it wasn't moving as swiftly through the pitch. I think that also affected the players, because you could see there are moments they expected the ball to move a bit quicker on the pitch, but it didn't. And that's, it's preseason. Fundo Vilagazi played well. I'm just going to highlight a few players. Maybe let me start with the new player, Flavio. What Flavio gave in this performance, if you guys have listened to my videos in previous things, this is the Flavio I expect to get. Yes, he will score a few goals, 1 or 2, etc. But I don't expect him to score 12 goals. I don't expect him to score 10 goals. That is not what I expect from Flavio. Flavio, when I watched his videos and when I saw that he scored most of his goals in Indonesia, I already understood what kind of a player he is. Just think of Kingston Nkata. I think that's the best way I can explain him. Kingston Nkata, Flavio will probably be a way I can give you an example of what Flavio is to achieve. Meaning that his importance won't be in goals. His importance will probably be in what he does. Maybe he'll take away a player. Maybe he will give an assist here and there. But he doesn't look like the player you can rely on to score you 12 goals or 15 goals or 20 Besuma goals in the season. No. So that's the thing I took away from Flavio. I'm not going to expect too much on Flavio. Monyani gave a good performance. One thing I like about Monyani's performance when I watched it, recovery. Monyani may start late in his run. So, for example, they may give a through pass to the winger before Monyani is in position, but he recovers well. There's many times where they did a 1-2, they got behind Monyani, and Monyani still caught up to the winger, and the winger tried to cross the ball into the box, and Monyani had a touch in there, and like that kept happening. He kept doing that, and the things that you can see, Guti, they weren't the right kind of players on the pitch for him to really show what he can add to the attack. Because I think Mfundo Villegas is good, but I don't think... One thing I'll say about Mfundo Villegas is that I think Nabi is making him become more of like a right winger that cuts in. But I think growing up, Mfundo Villegas has played more central. So you can see that there's a lot of basics in this positioning, moving around, in when to take on a man, when to release the ball, that Mfundo is not getting. But you can still see his qualities. But because he's not getting those moments on when to do what, he's just looking like an unfinished product. Like he doesn't know what he's doing sometimes. But yeah. There's that. Brandon, okay, most important thing before I even start this video, 90 minutes, we saw Brandon Peterson, we saw Bruce Vuma. Both of those guys are not good enough for Kaizer Chiefs, and I'm not basing this on the preseason. I'm basing it on the whole of last season and what I saw now today. Shaky. They clear the ball into the legs of opposition. Like, they just shaky. Like, we're just lucky that their clearances didn't land to the right people, but their clearances weren't the clearances you would expect from a keeper that gives authority. And that's the problem. We're playing teams that don't know us, so they don't know too much about the goalkeeping problem. And you could see, if these guys knew about our goalkeeping problem, they were just going to pump the balls into the box and they were just going to get goals, because that's what's going to happen when we play against teams. They're just going to pump the balls into the box, long balls, etc. And Abo Vuma and them are going to fumble those balls, because Vuma kept clearing the ball into the opposition who was standing right outside of the 18-yard area. He kept clearing the ball to that guy. And on a different day, that guy takes a shot, it's in the pole. But yeah, so the goalkeeping department, if it doesn't get fixed before the season starts, it's going to be one of the most negative things that's going to take us into the season. So that was the first half. Frosler hit a rocket of a goal, one of the best goals I've seen Frosler score. Yeah, you know when a goal hits you on the near post from far, but it's like such a rocket. Solid performance. Good to see Frosler back. Versatility, played that left back role well. I think other people I can highlight in the first half, Nobo gave a good shift in terms of pressing, etc., etc. But yeah, there's not much. He didn't really give an assist and stuff. Tabokele, same, good, put in a good shift, but they didn't really do anything that will shake or do anything. But yeah, if I miss someone, I'll try to talk about them in another video. But let's jump into second half. Second half was patchy. Some of the worst things I saw of Kaizer Chiefs were in the second half. some of the glimpses of what Kaizer Chiefs can be, I saw also in the second half. But some of the worst things I saw in the second half. Oh yeah, before I jump onto the second half from Teto, I wanted to say, Chiefs players have a very big problem when they play with Mteto. They pass Mteto as if Mteto is creative. For example, they'll pass Mteto in areas that he doesn't have time to do anything. And they expect Mteto to find solutions for problems. And I'm like, but that's not the type of player he is. So Chiefs players, I feel like if you are a smart player, you will know who to pass when when and how, etc. So I don't understand when our players keep passing Umtetwa in difficult positions and expecting Umtetwa to be comfortable on the ball, and he's not. Umtetwa is there to mark. He can change play, help you change play, etc., but not under pressure. But they keep passing him under pressure and they expose him. And I don't like that. I don't like that your players, your teammates will know your weakness, but keep passing you and keep exposing your weakness. I hate that to the core because it makes me realize that there's a lot of players in Chiefs that lack football intelligence. Second half was poor, I will say that. First goal was so quick. Solomon's own goal. Solomon's had a patchy performance. He did what. In fact, the thing about Solomon is he does better in attack than he does in defense. He was a bit shaky. He almost broke someone's leg. He was pulling people. It was difficult to watch. Sereno, many moments where he should have taken a shot and he chose not to. Dilly-dallied on the ball. Couldn't get his feet comfortable. I think the grass also has to do with that, but it was just not good to watch at times, but you could tell that Sereno is an important part of the team. Morris was just poor as usual. He got decent chances. I won't lie, he got decent chances, but Morris can't finish. So there's not much. What Morris did today is what I expect from him. He doesn't score the goals you expect. He presses. But yeah, and he loses the ball. There's a lot of things Morris did that were just, rather not talk about it. Shinga actually had a solid performance. I like Shinga's game. I like how he defended. I like how he played. He didn't get tested too much in defense, I believe. But when he did get tested, I think he gave a solid performance. And I think he's very solid in attack. I like his attacking approach. Now I know that if you have Monyani on one side and Shinga on the other side, or Shinga on the one side and Frosler on the other side, I think your wing backs are now covered, and Marco as well. Your wing backs are covered because Shinga is actually quite solid. I won't lie. And this is just, we don't know. We're still going to see when he gets tested in the PSL, when people play him week in, week out, and figure out his weaknesses. But so far, so good. The next one is Abo Matlo. Matlo disappoints me. Matlo and Zwano I feel like are the same player when I look at them. The reason why I say they're the same player, they started so well. But as the game progressed, their level decreased. There was a moment where Matlo got the ball and he dilly-dallied and they took the ball and almost scored, and I think Cross recovered. They passed back, Umatlo back. Matlo not paying attention to his surroundings. They take the ball again and they take another attack and they take a shot at goal. I think Vuma saved that one. And I'm like, why is Matlo they gave him a contract extension for what? But it's still preseason, so we won't go hectic. But he does this in the season, and that's why I'm like, there's certain moments where you're like, but Matlo does this in the season. He must learn from this thing. I liked Mabaso. I just think he gave too much respect to the other midfielders like Abomatlo. He allowed Abomatlo to dictate the game, but he was the one who looked more comfortable on the ball. So I'm good. I'm ready to see Mabaso and what he can do. The big one is Chislett. Chislett doesn't look like a fast player, but he looks like a technical player, and he looks like a smart player. When I say smart player, Chislett looks like a typical European. He's not fancy. He's not all these other things. he is production based, meaning that he puts himself in certain position, and you can see his mind. You can see Chislet's mind, how it functions. Like when he presses, he doesn't understand this thing of me pressing alone. He looks around to be like, oh, gents, let's press together as like a group. I can't be pressing alone because then it's a waste. And you can see he's thinking these things. He's thinking football all the time. He's thinking of solutions. But I think he'll do well in the PSL. I think he'll do well in the PSL and on a better ground. But he's not the fastest of players, and he's not the most technical players as a number 10. I think when you see Chislet, you need to understand that he's going to be more of those 10s that you want around the box because of their technical ability, but he won't necessarily be that number 10 that creates a lot of assists and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be his game. Like, we can't expect a Maswangani, a Rele, a Serino kind of number 10. I don't think he plays that kind of role. He's a pressing 10. He almost becomes a second striker kind of number 10. That's what I'm seeing from Chislet. But yeah, other than that, it's preseason. We are overreacting. So we hope it gets better after this. But yeah, it was good to see the boys back in the field. It was, there's a lot of things that were not great. But I think other than that, it's preseason. These guys have barely been back. I think they will get things right. And the one thing I will say is that because the opposition does not know Nabi and they really don't care about Nabi, this is not how teams are going to play us in South Africa. So I think people must understand that. We're not going to be played like this. So when you get to South Africa and you see that our team is struggling, or the opposition is more difficult, or is more difficult to penetrate, it's because those guys know how Nabi plays. And the opposition that we are going to play for the rest of the preseason, even in the Toyota Cup, these guys probably don't care about Nabi. So Cheese will probably look good in a lot of moments in these games to come. But once the season starts and you play people who know you, then that's where we know for sure what you've been doing in the preseason. Amakhosi for life.